We look to the towering pillars of power, the symbols of our nation's strength. We pledge allegiance, we cast our votes, we trust. But what happens when the very foundations we stand upon crumble beneath our feet? This isn't a spy thriller. This isn't a dystopian novel. This is the chilling reality we face, folks. The United States government, the entity sworn to protect us, has been compromised. The American dream, once a beacon of hope, now flickers precariously in the winds of deceit. They promised us transparency, justice, a government of the people. Empty promises, all of them. This is the story of the great betrayal, the story of how the US government is deceiving you. We think we're free, don't we? We boast about our freedoms, our rights, but are we truly free when the information we consume is carefully curated, manipulated, and controlled? They dangle the carrot of freedom while tightening the chains of control. Every headline, every policy, another thread in the web of deception. They tell us it's for our own good, about national security, the price of freedom, but don't be fooled. It's about power, control, and maintaining the status quo. You might be feeling it already, a nagging sense of unease, a feeling that something isn't right. You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to the truth. They're seeing through the lies, the propaganda, the carefully crafted narratives. The internet has become our battleground, a place where information, both true and false, spreads like wildfire. It's up to us to be discerning, to question everything, to seek out independent sources, and connect the dots ourselves. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now. They say history repeats itself, right? When it comes to government deception, it's a broken record stuck on repeat. They think we'll forget, that we'll be too busy with our own lives to notice the patterns. But we here at Otral 24, we remember. We remember the lies that led us into war, the scandals that shook the nation. These aren't just historical footnotes, folks. These are stark reminders of what happens when we become complacent. Let's revisit some of the most egregious examples of government deceit, moments in history that expose the dark underbelly of power. Section 2, Watergate, a stain on the nation's soul. Watergate, the scandal that rocked the nation, that brought down a president, that forever tarnished the image of the White House. It all started with a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate Hotel. President Richard Nixon, a man who campaigned on law and order, was exposed as the mastermind behind a criminal conspiracy to spy on his political opponents. The American people were stunned. They had been lied to, betrayed by the very person they had entrusted with the highest office in the land. Watergate was a wake-up call, a stark reminder that power corrupts, and that even the most powerful people are not above the law. Section 3, the Iraq War, a house of cards built on lies. Fast forward to the 21st century, and we find ourselves facing another chilling example of government deception, the Iraq War. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration launched a campaign of fear and misinformation, claiming that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction. These claims, later proven to be false, were used to justify a costly and devastating war. The Iraq War stands as a monument to the devastating consequences of government deception, a stark reminder that lies, no matter how well-intentioned, can have catastrophic and far-reaching consequences. It exposed the dangers of unchecked power, the manipulation of intelligence, and the willingness to sacrifice truth and human life in the pursuit of political goals. Section 4, a pattern of deception from Vietnam to today. From the Vietnam War to the Watergate scandal, from the Iran-Contra affair to the Iraq War, the pattern is clear. The US government has a long and sordid history of deceiving its own citizens. Time and time again, they have manipulated facts, suppressed evidence, and outright lied to the American people to advance their own agendas. These betrayals have eroded public trust, fueled cynicism and apathy, and undermined the very foundations of our democracy. But it doesn't have to be this way, folks. We, the people, have the power to demand better, to hold our leaders accountable, and to create a government that truly represents our interests. We've journeyed through the shadows of history, folks, seen the ghosts of scandals past, but don't think for a second that the age of deceit is behind us. The game's just gotten more sophisticated, the lies more insidious. They bombard us with endless streams of information, a cacophony of voices and opinions designed to confuse and disorient. They spin narratives, cherry-pick statistics, and demonize anyone who dares to question the official story. And while we're busy trying to make sense of it all, they're busy picking our pockets, folks. But here's the thing they don't want you to know. We outnumber them. We, the people, still hold the power. Let's talk about healthcare, shall we? That basic human right that's somehow become a privilege reserved for the wealthy and well-connected in this country. They tell us it's too complicated, too expensive to provide affordable healthcare for all. But that's a lie, plain and simple. The truth is, we're already paying for it, folks. We're just paying into a broken system that prioritizes profits over people. A system designed to keep us tethered to our jobs, living in fear of losing our health insurance. It's time we demand better. We deserve a healthcare system that puts people before profits. They say our children are the future, right? Well, if that's true, then the future is looking pretty bleak, folks. They're starving our public education system, leaving our children behind in crumbling classrooms with overworked teachers and outdated textbooks. They're saddling our young people with mountains of debt before they even graduate, trapping them in a cycle of economic insecurity. They're prioritizing standardized tests over critical thinking, obedience over creativity. They're not educating our children, they're indoctrinating them. We need to demand better for our kids, fight for a system that values education as a public good, not a private commodity. Section 4, Economic Inequality, the Great American Heist. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, folks. Economic inequality. The gap between the haves and the have-nots has become a chasm, a gaping wound in the fabric of our society. While the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class is being squeezed out of existence. The truth is, the system is designed this way. Tax cuts for the wealthy, deregulation of corporations, a tax on unions. It's all part of a deliberate plan to consolidate wealth and power in the hands of a select few. This isn't just about fairness, folks. It's about the soul of our nation. Section 1, Faces of Betrayal, Stories from the Front Lines. We've talked about the systems, folks, the policies, the cold, hard facts of government betrayal, but behind those statistics, those abstract notions of injustice, are real people, real lives torn apart by the consequences of these betrayals. These are the faces of the forgotten, the marginalized, the silenced. We're going to meet some of these people, folks. We're going to hear their stories, listen to their struggles, and understand the human cost of government deception, because these aren't just anecdotes, they're indictments. They're a testament to the urgent need for change. Section 2, The Single Mother, Drowning in Debt, Fighting for Her Family. Meet Sarah. She's a single mother of two working minimum wage jobs, just trying to keep her head above water. She's the face of working-class America, folks, the backbone of this country. But you wouldn't know it by the way she's treated. Sarah works her fingers to the bone, but she can't seem to get ahead. The rent keeps going up, the cost of groceries is through the roof, and her paycheck is stretched thinner and thinner every week. She's drowning in medical debt, folks, ever since her youngest son was diagnosed with asthma. Sarah's not asking for a handout, folks. She's asking for a fair shot, a chance to provide a decent life for her children. Meet John, a veteran who served 2 tours in Iraq. He came home with scars, both visible and invisible. He's struggling with PTSD and finding a job. The system has failed him. It's time we demand better for our veterans. Section 4, The Teacher, Emptying Her Pockets to Educate Our Children. Meet Miss Johnson. She's a dedicated teacher, passionate about shaping young minds. She spends countless hours preparing lesson plans and grading papers. But Miss Johnson is also struggling to make ends meet on a teacher's salary. She's forced to spend her own money on school supplies. Miss Johnson's story reflects our underfunded education system, a system failing both teachers and students. Section 1, cronyism, the rot at the core. We've seen the consequences, folks, the human toll of government betrayal. But there's another side to this story, a side they don't want you to see. While everyday Americans struggle, a whole other class benefits from the status quo. They're called cronies, folks, and they're the real winners in this rigged game. Corporate lobbyists and wealthy donors who write legislation for their benefit. This isn't about ideology, folks. It's about greed and power, a system corrupted from the inside out, where money talks. Section 2, the military-industrial complex profiteering from war. Let's talk about the military-industrial complex, folks, that unholy alliance between government and the defense industry that profits from war and militarism. They've got their fingers in every pie, folks, from weapons manufacturing to private security contractors, and they're making a killing off of our endless wars and military interventions. They lobby for bigger defense budgets, folks, for more troops on the ground, for more bombs to be dropped. They don't care about peace, folks. They care about profit. They care about keeping the money flowing, no matter the human cost. They've got us hooked on a war economy, folks, a system that depends on conflict and instability to thrive. They've convinced us that we need to spend more on defense than any other country on Earth, even though we're already the most powerful nation in the world. It's a racket, folks, a scam, and the American people are the ones footing the bill, both financially and in terms of the lives lost and the freedom sacrificed in the name of their endless wars. Section 3, Big Pharma, your health, their bottom line. Let's not forget about Big Pharma, folks, those pharmaceutical giants that are more interested in your wallet than your well-being. They're the ones who jack up the prices of life-saving medications, folks, who spend more on marketing than on research and development, who prioritize profits over patients. They've got our healthcare system by the throat, folks, dictating prices and influencing policy to line their own pockets. They've bought and paid for our elected officials, folks, ensuring that their interests are protected at the expense of our health and well-being. They're the reason why millions of Americans can't afford the medications they need, folks, why people are forced to ration their insulin or skip doses altogether. They're the reason why our healthcare system is so expensive and dysfunctional. It's time we take back our health, folks, from the grip of these corporate predators. It's time we demand affordable medications, a healthcare system that puts people before profits, and an end to the corrupting influence of Big Pharma on our government. Section 4, the revolving door, from public service to private riches. And then there's the revolving door, folks, that cozy relationship between government and the private sector that allows politicians and bureaucrats to cash in on their connections after leaving public service. They go from regulating industries to lobbying for them, from writing laws to exploiting loopholes. They trade in their government salaries for seven-figure incomes, folks, all thanks to the connections they made and the favors they doled out while in office. It's a system that rewards corruption, folks, that incentivizes politicians to put the interests of their future employers ahead of the public good. It's no wonder people have lost faith in government, folks, when they see this kind of blatant self-dealing going on. It's enough to make you sick, folks, to see how the system is rigged against us, how those in power are more interested in enriching themselves than in serving the people. Section 1, the awakening giant, the power is yours. We've laid it all out, folks. The lies, the deceit, the systemic corruption that's infected the very heart of our nation. It's enough to make you want to throw your hands up in despair, right? To feel like the system is too big, too powerful to fight. But don't let them win, folks. Don't let them crush your spirit, your belief in the possibility of change. Because here's the thing they don't want you to know. We outnumber them, folks. We, the people, still hold the power. We've been asleep at the wheel for too long, folks, lulled into complacency by their empty promises and carefully crafted distractions. But there's a giant awakening happening right now, folks. A groundswell of anger and frustration that's building across this nation. People are waking up to the reality that the system isn't broken, folks. It's working exactly as designed. It's designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many, to concentrate wealth and power at the top while the rest of us struggle to make ends meet. OTRAL 24 needs you. We can change it. Reclaim our democracy, build a future for all. It'll take all of us working together, raising our voices, Otral 24 is committed to exposing the truth and holding the powerful accountable. We need your help. Join the movement. Subscribe, like, share. Let's spark a national conversation. The power is in our hands. It's time for a revolution.